Hello.
So this is Matthew. Maya couldn't join us tonight.
No, so my experience is similar, oil and gas. And as y'all know, oil and gas is very cyclical. It has its booms and busts. So the main reason why I joined was to, if I ever get laid off or something, have some kind of stream of income to where I'm not a good Democrat relying on the government. But started working offshore, started investing passively in 2018. My girlfriend at the time, wife now, gave an ultimatum and said, you need to have a new job because you're away all the time, or I'm a dumb. So I said, okay, got a new job, and then started doing single family recently. So what will? Oh.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that, I think. So why lifestyles?
Like I mentioned earlier, oil and gas is very cyclical, but then also, like, God forbid, you get unemployed, lose a job. It's always nice just to have some kind of income coming in that you're not relying on a job for.
Yeah, very good. All right, so this rehab, again, this is his very first property. So he doesn't have a portfolio. This was his first property. And so, again, you were looking for a light rehab to test your team, test the process, test your education. And so tell us a little bit about this property real quick.
So this is in the Spring Branch area. And for those that are familiar, it's right down the street. So for me, what got me excited about it mostly was the numbers, but then there was little sprinkles on top that I enjoyed a lot more. It's close to my work, about a 10-minute drive, so that is a positive, and then also not very far from where I live. And then, like you mentioned, the rehab itself was pretty light, so as a first deal, I was looking at something simple and not something would go over my head.
And how did you find the property?
This was an email blast from Ashley.
Okay, nice.
And I was actually third on the email originally, but I was still interested because of the area. So when I showed up, surprisingly, I found out I was first, and it was given to me.
It was meant to be.
It's meant to be.
All right. So another picture of the rehab. Again, nothing too crazy. So when we look at the numbers, let's look through the numbers real quick. So after repair value was 203, purchase price 130, rehab 23, again on the lower end. Closing costs for 2 closings was almost 13,000, and that leaves an equity capture of 36.7. Your cash out of pocket was 22, rent 1,400 a month, cash flow 202. That leaves you with a cash on cash return of 11% and 166% return on capital. Well done for your first property. So how has lifestyles changed your life?
So
Or
I'm sure,
maybe it's too soon to tell, but what are you excited about?
No, I'm sure everyone's aware that cost of living keeps going up, rent, insurance, taxes, food, fuel. So, I mean, $200 a month isn't a lot, but it definitely helps just maintaining the lifestyle that you have, or so you don't have to cut back. So it just helps with cost of living and maintaining kind of the life that you enjoy.
Great. So what's next?
More, hopefully just more houses, and then also being a passive is very nice. And then I think long term, I think being an IRA would be a lot of fun as well.
Awesome. Very cool. And that's the natural progression of the real estate investor. You know, starting out with single family, he's young, he's got a great timeline to work with, got good mentorship, education, keep it up, very well done. So a little shout out to the mentors, Hind Washington again. Unfortunately, she can't be here. Ashley Shanger, she's right back here. Everyone give a round of applause for her for finding a great deal for the real estate. And then we've got our vendors who are always helpful. Thank you so much, vendors. And Del, is that about as quick as you want, or do we have time for questions?
We'll let him have 1 or 2 questions if there's any real good questions.
I think you just scared him off. All right. And we do have one question.
That's a good question.
So the question is just so everybody can hear. So what made you decide to go from passive to single family if you started out with passive?
Sometimes the passive route takes a lot longer to mature versus single family cash flows monthly. And then once the transaction is over, there's not really much left to do versus sometimes apartments, you're putting work in, there's operational things you need to do to adjust, and that takes time to mature. So that and then just being able to say I can do it is mostly the main reason.
Very good.
I've got a good question online.
Okay,
I think,
go
Bill,
ahead.
maybe you want to answer it.
Go ahead.
Since the market is going down and the ARV is based at the peak market price, won't the equity capture drop to what the real market is? So we'd lose all our equity and only be cash flowing $200. That's where I get freaked out.
No, it won't, because the reality is the value of the property is what it is. The problem is not that there isn't demand for real estate. And this is a very good question. What they're thinking is that average, if everything keeps selling down here, down here, down here, that the average would come down. Do you follow what they're saying? But that's not what's going to happen, because everything is not selling down here. The forced sales are down here. The 95% of all real estate is like you and me. How many of you own your home and you're not in trouble right now? Are you selling? No. Is your value going down until you sell? No. What is the adjusted rate value? It's this. It's not going anywhere. Do you follow me? There's too much demand out there right now. If somebody could come and buy that and wanted to pay full price and could afford the interest rates to make the payments, right, then they could sell it. But that's not happening because nobody's dumb enough to do that. And so they're being forced to sell cheaper. But yes, good question, but it's not going to happen. I own real estate. I have no fear of my real estate going down in value. But if I were in a situation where I got forced to sell, somebody's going to come along as a shark and buy it cheap. Does that make sense? Good question. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming in.